Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of a review over domain and range, and we're going to start with a discrete function. Um, so just a quick reminder, domain is all of the input values of a function. So here's the function notation, so everything that we would plug into that function is going to be our domain values. All of the range values are going to be all the input values of a function, so all of the f of x values. So domain is all the x's, and range is all the y's. Okay, so we're going to start with something that's discrete, and remember that discrete means dots. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points on our graph, so we're going to find the domain and range of these 5 points, and this is our function. So the first thing I did was I labeled all of the coordinates, as you can see, -6, -4, -5, -2, and so on. That's one strategy. You can just label all of the points and then pull all of your x values from here and all of your y values from here. Another strategy is to draw arrows to the axis that you're looking at. So if I want to find the domain of a function, I want to look at the x-axis. I'm going to take my points and I'm going to draw arrows up to the x-axis. So I'm going to start here. And I see that my first value in my domain is going to be -6. -5, -3, -2, and then 0. And then since you're supposed to write your domain and range in order from least to greatest, I'm going to go left to right, starting with the negatives, moving up to the positives. So my domain would be -6, -5, -3, -2, and 0. So since this is discrete, it's just dots, you write your domain and range just as a list of points, just as the whole numbers. Okay, so now looking at the range, instead of going to the x-axis, I'm now going to go to the y-axis. So I'm going to take that same point, and I'm really just looking at the y-coordinate, and I'm drawing lines to the axis so I can see what all the y values are. So my range is going to be starting with -4 because I want to go least to greatest. So on the y-axis, the negatives are down here, and then you move up to the positives up here. So I'm going to start at the bottom. So -4, -2, 2, 4, and then 8. So now I've got my domain and range of my discrete function. Again, discrete is just dots, so you write the domain and range as a list. Okay? Now we need to be able to write it for a continuous function. So remember, continuous is when it's something connected, when you actually have a line drawn through it. So that's an example of discrete. And now I'm going to show you an example of continuous. And I'm just going to go ahead and draw a line through these to make it a little bit easier. Okay, so I'm not going to write this as a list. Now instead of a list, we're going to write this as an inequality, where on the left I have my minimum x value, and on the right I have my maximum. So looking at this line and looking at the x-axis, my smallest x value was here at -6, okay? So I'm going to draw a line here. So this is as far left as my line goes at -6. So x is everything that's greater than -6, but it's less than what value? So we need our biggest value here to see what x is in between. And so this line stops along the x-axis at 0, when x is 0. So I'm basically just taking this and finding my lowest x value and my largest x value. So my largest x value was 0. So there's my domain. It's all of the x values from -6 to 0. So basically this is saying that x is everything in between these two values, and that's what these two lines are showing here, that all of my x values are everything in between -6 and 0. Now the range, again, we're going to do basically the same thing, except now we're looking at the y-axis. And if I want to find my minimum y value, I got to start at the bottom. So my minimum y value is going to be right here at -4. That's where my graph starts, at the bottom. So y is everything that's greater than -4 but less than eight. So again, it should match up to this. This was my lowest y value and this was my greatest y value. So therefore y is everything that is in between -4 and +8. So that's basically the connection you should make from the domain and range of a discrete function and then the domain and range of a continuous function. So remember that for discrete, the domain and range is going to be written as a list because we're only dealing with whole number coordinates. For continuous, we are dealing with inequalities because x is everything from -6 to 0, not just the whole numbers, but everything in between, all the fractions, all the decimals. Okay, so that is just a quick little review on domain and range and the difference of how to write it as a discrete function and how to write it as a continuous function.